Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock. It is Monday, and I am joined by John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Good to be with you.
Always a pleasure.
All right. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's begin with our latest poll numbers that have come out.
Proud of those, aren't you?
Well,
news breaking.
They were newsworthy. That's what I'm proud about. And then, quite frankly, I told Jay Barth, I'm kind of excited that we got some news that's not par for the course in Arkansas, which we've had for about the last
That's what makes it
6
news.
or 7 years. So,
being not par for the course.
not necessarily that I am endorsing the results of it, but I'm glad to see that there is some awakening in the Arkansas electorate for some different political calculus.
Less predictability in what you're finding is what you say.
What was your reaction? What's your takeaway to the fact that it is about 40% strongly disapprove of the president's job performance and 39% approve? Were you surprised by that? Yes.
Basically, just to put it in context, Trump won in Arkansas in November. 61-34, basically. I think your February job approval on Trump in Arkansas was 63?
60-35.
60-35. And then some months later, it was 53-39.
Yep.
So this poll last week, it's 50 approve, 47 disapprove, which shows that Arkansas people are not, as you say, as predictably red statified as they had been, that Trump is being personally disapproved of based on his behavior and performance in office. But you did signal the most important finding to me. Within that 50-47, the question is, the 50 and 47, those cover strongly approve and somewhat approve.
Right.
The specific strongly approved numbers, strongly disapprove numbers, 40% strongly disapprove of Trump. 39% strongly, strongly disapprove. So more than, and the strongly approve of Trump is 39. So as many people in Arkansas are disapproving of this man as are enamored of him, basically, 40-39 being the same number, certainly within the margin for error. There were times in the last year and a half when I've wondered, how alien am I in my state? Because I would see numbers that would show 2 out of...
You want me to answer that question?
Don't. that would show 2 out of 3 people are just absolutely enamored of this guy, and I couldn't quite understand my fellow Arkansans why they couldn't see some problems with him. Now I can walk around knowing that about as many disapprove of him as approve of him, and I feel greater comfort. I think this is a good poll for the state of Arkansas. It shows a great awakening across our great state.
Well, let me tell you a little bit. The point of this poll was not to find these numbers that he has slipped in his approval rating, although that's really what has come out of it. We were actually set up this poll to do many of the other questions in here about Trump to find out more of what makes a Trump supporter tick, which we will still do some with that 50% number that still approve of him. But that was the surprise, was that we thought that the number would be bigger. Therefore, we thought we would be looking at
I remember telling you when you told me you were going to do this survey, I said, I know it's going to show. It's going to show Trump remaining probably more popular in Arkansas than nearly any other state, and not nearly his support would not decline nearly as much as it would have nationally. But that's not what it showed.
John Brummett says he does not know everything.
Right.
Did you say that?
I did.
Okay.
I did. But you're saying you set out to find what it is that the people who are for him, what makes that support tick.
Yeah, and that's what we will be rolling out over the next couple of days.
We can't reveal and analyze that yet here.
I gotta milk my poll for all it's worth, John. So.
Well, I would say that it's mostly disdain for liberals and Democrats and Clinton and Obama. I think that would still be what makes them tick. You tell me, am I right or wrong about that?
Well, there's more to it than just that.
Okay.
So.
I look forward to that.
Let's talk about...
You're being so mysterious. How am I supposed to analyze if I can?
President Trump's big New York Times interview that kind of set the world in a tizzy, at least for 14 to 24 hours last week, and we've moved on to other things now. But it was a remarkable, on-the-record conversation that you have to think that his lawyers did not appreciate, number one. Number two, he kept the whole White House in the dark about this. You've never seen anything like it, have you?
No, and I guess every time I say I've never seen anything like it, it's more appealing to his 36% base, which wants him to do things we've never seen anything like. But I've actually done an Oval Office interview with the president, and it was reasonably friendly. It was me interviewing Bill Clinton, but you had the chief of staff and presidential counselor George Stephanopoulos, or at the time maybe communications director, just hovering with their notebooks, wanting to monitor what was going on. Here is Trump granting an interview to 3 reporters with a newspaper, a great, widely read newspaper that he calls failing fake news, yet he says, come on in, guys. He brings with him no lawyer, no senior staff, a junior person from the press office, and proceeds to go off in directions that seem so casual and ill-considered that it is, by any standard, pre-Trump or outside of Trump, it's just absolute outrage. And this is a broken record. We continue to say these kinds of things, but so many questions for him. My first question would have been, Mr. President, you say we're fake and we lie. Why are you even talking to us? I mean, why? And
because he wants their validation.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Which says something about him and his neediness, doesn't it? But anyway, what was your question?
Well, we were talking, I wanted to get your takeaway on just the experience of the interview.
It's
one
beyond
of those,
anything, but I've got to say, you can't discuss that interview without saying that the President of the United States, in this interview, said that for the Attorney General he appointed to recuse himself because of ethical advice that the Russian investigation involved the Trump campaign and he was involved in it, and therefore by standards of ethical propriety and appearances, he should recuse from that, is standard ethical behavior. And Trump was saying that Sessions was appointed Attorney General for the purpose of shielding, protecting him, rather than attending to that ethical standard. That is what he was saying. I don't know if he knew he was saying that or he meant to saying that, but that was what he was saying. I know Bill Clinton, Janet Reno drove Bill Clinton crazy sometimes because these attorney generals, these law enforcement Puritans will go off on you sometimes.
They uphold the Constitution. Right. It's not about loyalty to them.
Right, yeah. And I think this all validates Comey. This guy, he didn't need to be validated to me. I believed everything he said under oath. But when we hear Trump saying things like that in a casual interview with the New York Times, you can hear him saying what Comey says he said to him. I need your loyalty, and could we do me a favor and not look at this Michael Flynn? That's the same kind of tone that I saw in a similar tone in those two matters.
Let's take a quick commercial break, come back and talk health care and the U.S. Senate with John Brummett right after this.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
Welcome back to Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock with John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Let's talk health care. This could be a big week for health care in the U.S. Senate. We don't know. It could be a big week. We actually polled some questions on this in our recent round of polling here. Not much support. 52% oppose the repeal now, replace later concept, which I think is the default position if they can't get to 50 votes before they'd even work with Democrats on that. I think they'd give that a run.
Yes, it's hard to say.
That has to surprise you that Arkansans would be that adamant about finding something that's going to replace the Affordable Care Act.
How would that? Doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise you?
Well, tell me how
Well,
it should
but this
surprise
is
me.
a Republican Party line right here of replace now repeal now, replace later, and it's even been voted on before. But it does
I
not
see.
sit well with the
I see.
public.
It has
in
to
a Republican state.
I totally misunderstood your question. You're saying it has to surprise me that in Arkansas, where the Republican Party has risen solely on the basis of repealing Obamacare,
Yeah.
and where our politicians over the last several years during the Obama administration voted time and again to repeal Obamacare, that now, today, 52% of the respondents to your poll don't want Obamacare repealed unless there is a replacement.
Correct. You
Yes.
asked that question much better than I did.
Yes. Well, it'll help me answer if I understand what the question is. Not that you weren't clear. It's all on me for not getting it clear. Sometimes I help if I restate it myself.
Good.
But yeah, that's big. Even in Arkansas, the notion that you're going to take away Obamacare and leave us in the lurch, depending on you to do something later, even in Arkansas, a state where our entire we've had a political revolution based on repealing Obamacare, that is a significant, major, indeed seismic change in public attitude. So it does surprise me.
Yeah. And you were also surprised that 44% don't know much about Medicaid and the Medicaid expansion in Arkansas, despite several years of the private option in Arkansas. Well, maybe it's
just to be
the
totally
name of it,
forthcoming,
so.
you asked me to look over the questions, and I said, why don't you ask what they think about Medicaid expansion, whether we should keep it in the way that it has supported our private option in Arkansas works. Well, it was a worthless question because 44% didn't know what you were talking about.
Sometimes, though, asking a question that proves that point that people don't know is actually an excellent question, John, because it helps our policymakers know they've got more work to do.
Or maybe they don't want people to know. But I was, yeah. There's a nearly 1 in 2 can't tell you, or actually more than 1 in 2 either don't know or don't have an opinion on the question of whether we ought to continue Medicaid expansion, which is center to the only opposition in Arkansas among our political leaders to whether we repeal and replace Obamacare. Everybody, all the our Republican governor and all of our members of Congress want to repeal Obamacare. Our governor, Asa Hutchinson, doesn't want to repeal it in a way that takes away funding for continued Medicaid expansion because it's so important to him and his function drawing a budget as governor. So it's important.
All right, your Tuesday column centers on what?
You know, I call it part 3 in a book we'll call Profiles in Irrelevance. That's what I call it. Guess who it's about? I'm not going to make you guess. It's about your friends from last week whom you nobly interviewed and got something out of, Senators John Boozman and Tom Cotton. This week, Mitch McConnell is probably going to bring something up for a procedural vote on this Obamacare health care deal. He's not saying which bill it is right now. Is it the original bill with a replacement, Republican Senate replacement, or is it simply to repeal without replacing? He's not saying. And it's not even a bill to do that. It's a bill to proceed to debate. And he's saying he's going to bring up one or the other, probably, one day or another, probably, and most likely, because of senators like Capito, Portman, Murkowski, Susan Collins, mostly moderates from states that have used Medicaid expansion and want to protect it, it will not achieve the 50 votes that would allow Michael Pence to cast the tie-breaking vote. Meanwhile, our 2 senators, whose governor has implored them to help him save Medicaid expansion, are going to vote for it meaninglessly. They will be among the 48 or 49 or 47 who vote for it without consequence, which I think has been their design all along. They really want to get through this thing politically and look like they were trying to repeal Obamacare, but they don't want to gut their state's Medicaid. So this is all strategically and in a cynical way going to work out for them. So that's the...
Well, about half don't know what Medicaid expansion is. So
Well, but 52%...
there's the calculus.
Okay. Okay.
John Brummett with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Always good to visit with you.
You bet. My
All
pleasure.
right, I'm going to hand the keys of the chair over to you next week, right?
Next week, I'll be over there.
Yeah.
And Bud Cummins, fine fella, hail fella, well met, and Trump campaign guy in Arkansas is going to be here, and we may argue or talk or do something.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you for watching. That's all for today's program. We'll see you next time.